Good morning and welcome. We'll be discussing how technology, including portals, can transform relationships in the retail energy space. My name is Tim Cole. I'm Chief Customer Officer here at MPX, and with me is Mandy Fish, Director of Technology Solutions. Just by way of housekeeping, your phones are muted. We absolutely, though, want your questions, so please enter them in the chat window, and if you could please direct them to the organizer. We will try to answer throughout, but certainly we'll answer all the questions at the end. Okay, so relationships matter. All businesses depend on strong relationships. In the energy industry, certainly we have what we sometimes refer to as traditional customers. They often develop relationships in person or over the phone. We've got newer customers. Some, I suppose, you could put into the younger category, but the reality is that whether it's a philosophical way of doing business or that all of us, regardless of kind of the generation that we're a part of, are just too busy. So we can be nearly invisible, surfacing late at night or on weekends. So while being invisible, those customers actually really do also yearn for a strong relationship. Absolutely no one parts with their money these days without first determining if the company they're dealing with is worthy. So everyone, regardless of the generation, wants ease. Certainly self-service now is, that access is so common, it's actually expected. And technology plays a big role in shaping all of those relationships. Digital marketing trends declared for 3 years running now that customer experience is the most exciting opportunity for the majority of companies. So customer service simply, or customer experience is how customers perceive their interactions with you. And that can be whether they're coming in person to see you, whether they encounter your driver, whether they approach you online at all hours of the day or night or weekends, whether it's over the telephone or certainly by mail. Regardless of what pathway they follow, those good interactions are successful when they require no customer intervention. No customer service intervention. So, I think for years we all have customer service departments in our organizations, and it's still important. But the reality is, it's really too late if it's at that point. The experience is already tainted in some fashion. A problem is being solved that could or really should have been avoided. So good interactions are meaningful, easy, enjoyable, and ultimately, customers are so happy with them that they welcome the opportunity to repeat those interactions and certainly to tell others. The other thing about customer experience and technology, it works. Amazon has really set the bar for us as consumers. With ease and speed, they're just always anticipating. Apple passionately thinks customers first. Then they consider what is needed within operations to support those customer desires, not vice versa. To relate Apple's priority of customer first to retail energy, a relevant example might be the scheduling of a fuel delivery order that is placed online. The priority in how companies make decisions internally will significantly alter how such a request is handled. An organization that is predominantly operations-oriented as priority one might inform the customer that someone from dispatch will call within 48 hours to schedule the delivery. An organization that places the customer as priority one will certainly handle it differently. Some may commit to calling or emailing the next morning with a delivery commitment. Others may actually reserve delivery openings for online orders such that an automated delivery commitment will and can be scheduled immediately. In all organizations, there's always a balance of customer and operational priorities. They both are important. Because of dramatic changes in consumer expectations, really led by Amazon, The biggest challenge and opportunity in the energy industry is squarely related to evolving the customer experience. Consumers will migrate to the energy company that makes it as easy as dealing with Amazon. Consumers will show loyalty to the company that is easily accessible off hours and that gives them real improvements, like a heads up by text when a service technician is 30 minutes away. The energy companies that put the customer first will thrive and grow. The companies that put operations first will likely lose market share. A generation ago, Apple and Dell Computer were very similar. They both made computers. Dell became incredibly adept at sourcing components and lean manufacturing. Apple became incredibly adept at determining what would energize and excite consumers. Apple created intuitive solutions that consumers really embraced. Dell is becoming forgotten. They attempted to use their sourcing and manufacturing expertise to produce less expensive computers and MP3 music players. The reality is that consumers yawned. Apple, on the other hand, is now one of the most successful companies in the world, and consumers are willing to think of them for products far beyond computers. Apple first considers what would we want? What will inspire the consumer? And they then develop the operational infrastructure to support the creation and delivery of those customer experiences. Consumers respond by buying in record numbers and doing so at a big premium. So according to American Express, 60% of us as consumers will pay more for a better experience, which is really perfect for our premium fuel industry. A survey by Bain & Company, really interesting the way this played out. 8% of companies were rated as delivering a superior experience, yet 80% thought that they delivered a superior experience. So it's really, really critical that we truly be honest with ourselves. And I think what's so important is that we are being assessed every step of the way, and we're being compared not just to our industry peers, but way more importantly to all the other experiences and situations that we encounter in our life. And so here's some examples from other industries where relations are strengthening with the creative and effective use of technology. AAA, a solid organization, but certainly not considered leading edge. They let you know by text when the tow truck is nearby. Sears does the same with appliance deliveries. Parking meters now, some of them anyway, let you type in your cell phone number to receive a text 10 minutes before the meter expires. It's such a small detail, but just huge peace of mind benefit. Some restaurant credit card processing devices have your email addresses stored to enable a simple yes when asked if you want a receipt emailed to you. No need to carefully type your long email address while your guests or family are waiting. Keystrokes matter. It's crazy, but it absolutely engenders loyalty. Back to our energy world in terms of kind of the keystrokes and loyalty. If a cash customer has to re-enter their address or credit card number with each transaction versus another site where that information is securely tracked, who's going to earn their loyalty? So the way to start thinking about the journey, if you will, that your customer goes through is to literally put it down on paper. Illustrate the steps, the interactions that your customers go through with your company, and it doesn't have to be a long exercise at all, but pretty quickly you can document and map the steps for each pathway to your door, and that those different pathways are whether they're coming in person, whether it's over the phone, whether it's online or by mail. So improving the journey company-wide, consider the processes and the tools to really literally inspire happy customers. Collaborate within, break down barriers or silos together. that saying of it takes a village. I think in energy, it's so clear, whether it's dispatch or drivers or the IT department, customer advocates throughout the organization. All of those individuals and those processes are entirely intertwined in order to be part of that journey that your customers are following. So take advantage of technology. It really can be employed to strengthen relationships. When approaching your company off hours, when your customers are seeing technology enhancements in both large and small ways every day, the ground rules have changed. How we develop relationships, the access the customers give to us have totally changed. A basic website just isn't enough anymore. So the relationship journey includes, at least today, documents and the web, text messages now, pardon me, certainly have a role. There's going to be something that's next. It's an ongoing means of considering how technology can help that relationship. So really anticipate, what would you want if you were your own customer? Help your customers never, or at least seldom, require customer service. Those phone calls consume valuable time and energy that no one has these days in excess. Literally show customers how you feel about them, the ease you provide, how well you anticipate. These are touch points that are today's defining moments, and loyalty and growth are earned by those who anticipate best. So, what does all this mean? So let me turn it over to Mandy, who's now going to share some additional thoughts and some tangible ideas.
So we brought together a few examples from across industries to really show how technology can enhance customer relationships. Your relationship with our customer really spans multiple touch points. So we've selected a few samples of documents here that use technology to improve the customer experience, visible both in paper as well as online. So in this case, sophisticated data processing allows for account and customer level marketing with relevant messages. It also allows for smart tracking so that all appropriate customers can receive a mandatory message or insert only once in a given period. So think here, duty to warn, so you can save on extra postage and mailing costs. And then clearly represent data so customers don't have to call with questions. And then here, this one I just think is really cool. Everybody hates explanation of benefits, or EOBs, from their healthcare insurance company. I personally feel they're pretty much impossible to understand. So this document on the left here, this is a great example of using technology in the form of data processing to make customers' lives free of frustration. I don't know if you can see those little half circles there, but those are showing sort of a dynamic view of where you stand in your out-of-pocket expenses and deductibles, both for yourself, the individual in-network, out-of-network, for your family. All of those things are very clearly shown. And in this case, this poor person has not gotten very deep into their deductibles. But as those amounts change, of course, it sort of goes up like a speedometer or sort of radar. And then using a similar concept, this applies beautifully to budget statements. Providing a nice graphic showing where the customer stands in their estimated budget can reduce confusion or eliminate calls from concerned customers wondering if their budget plan is going to cover any more deliveries or where they stand on their budget. So this could also include a great opportunity for dynamic messaging to inform the customer about relevant information dependent on the status of their plan or where they are in the course of the plan season. So both of which are using technology to enhance the customer experience and therefore their relationship with you. So as Tim mentioned earlier, it is no longer good enough to just have an online presence. or to offer a customer portal, it needs to successfully and easily provide the services your customers want and expect to see. And it should be integrated with your back office system so that the customer sees what the customer sees is exactly what's in the system. There's a lot listed here, but if you just take a second to glance through and make note of any features you aren't currently providing your customers, be sure to just let us know in the chat window or afterwards. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, we can send it out to you. But basically, some of the things here is you need to make sure that customers can make intelligent payments. So not just making a payment, but setting up automatic payments or automatic to a maximum amount. Basically improving that revenue cycle to get payments from customers a little faster. Those things should be very clear and easy for the customer to do in a self-serve environment, because that's what they want. That's what they're looking to do. So bringing it back to Sears, if they can get a text message that the technician is an hour away, why can't an energy dealer send a text that a delivery has been made or the service technician is on their way? Also, it may be obvious, but your customer portal should work really well with mobile. It shouldn't just be, the same version, but in a mobile environment. It really should be responsive to mobile devices, or really any devices that customers are using, because increasingly that's becoming the preferred channel your customers are using to interact with you. So as we all know through our marriages and other family relationships, relationships require communication. So make sure you're allowing customers to select the communications that they get from you in the way that they prefer to be reached. But make it easy for them. Your portal should give your customers control, but it needs to do so without making the customer work too hard. So while your customers want that control, if they do have an issue, they're going to call you. So your staff also needs to have access to the right technology and tools to help the customer. Here's another list of functionality you should be providing your staff so they can adequately service your customers immediately while they're on the phone or they're in person. So CSR should be able to quickly and easily access the information to perform administrative tasks or on behalf of the customer. One of the reasons that I'm sure customers are calling is to troubleshoot your customer portal. So make it easy to find users, to see the accounts that they have access to view their payment settings and history, or even to log into a read-only version of what the customer is seeing to be able to help them out. So again, in the chat message or chat window, if you'd like a copy of this, we can send this out to you. So portals really shouldn't be limited to statements and payments. They can also be a window into the customer's entire touchpoint experience, because all communications such as marketing campaigns, emails, text notifications they've received, invoices, dunning letters, all of that should be visible on your CSR portal. It could also become your window into analytics and reporting, helping to determine things like paperless adoption rate or automatic payment usage, or user enrollment success rate after you've done a promotion to drive people to get to the website. This is all technology used to improve internal communications and therefore enhance the customer's experience and further strengthen this relationship. And as we all know, good relationships will lead to loyalty and growth. So what now? I'll turn it over to Tim to talk a little bit more about the next steps that you really should go forward with now.
So thanks, Mandy. So as far as kind of next steps, ultimately it really comes down to defining the experience you want to provide. What do you want your customers to experience with you, and really start from kind of those touch points when they receive a document from you, whenever they encounter your website, when whenever they have a delivery that's made, when there's a technician that is going to be scheduled for service. Just think about those moments when there are touch points, there's interaction, and briefly document what that experience looks like today and what you would like it to look like. And once you kind of define what you'd like it to look like, is to start to spend a little time internally to figure out, are there any roadblocks to doing this, and if so, what can we do to synchronize the back office, to synchronize priorities. um, and so anyway, so it's all doable. It's just really trying to think through from the customer perspective, working backwards. And then certainly, this is self-serving, but pick partners that will help get you there. I think that I don't want to downplay this. Just like within the example that I shared earlier about whether an organization kind of considers operations as priority one or the customer experience as priority one. The reality is that every organization does have a little bit of a pecking order as to how decisions are made, and you want to select a partner who thinks about your customer's experience with you, and doesn't put up roadblocks, because depending on your point of view, you could say, well, whatever, that's too complicated, or is the technology right for that? But the reality is that they're really your imagination should be the limitation only, not internal operations, not your vendors' capabilities. And so set the bar high, because not only is it happening within our energy industry, but certainly around us. And that is the way, even when people are encountering you in the middle of the night, they're assessing. They're absolutely assessing. You just don't get to see their eyes. You just don't get to watch whether they turn around and leave. But the reality is that those assessments, just think of yourself. We're all doing it, and so you want to create, whether it's when they're on the phone with you, whether it's on your website, whether it's the document that they take out of the envelope, it should all bring like, this makes sense. These people are thinking about me. They've anticipated, and that's the experience that you want to create. So we've gotten through the points that we wanted to make sure that we covered, but we absolutely would welcome your questions, and so we already have a couple here. So let me get started. But please, as I'm answering a couple of these questions, please type in your particular question and just direct it towards the organizer. But one of the questions is, how do these kind of technology tools that you're talking about affect your core software? So first of all, regardless of what core you're operating on, there are kind of operational realities. If you want to schedule a delivery, I think that you understand the importance of coordination between dispatch and your drivers and all the components of getting that fuel to the homeowner. So the core has that information, but how it's updated, how it's passed along, how it's available to your portal, all of those things absolutely can be dealt with. It's just a matter of as much that technology's got to be considered as really kind of the operational flow and how you prioritize how that information is conveyed. Another question is, are there differences between those core systems, whether you're on one system or another? Of course, there are differences, but the reality is that operations, to a certain extent, is operations. And so, we happen to work with really all the core systems within the industry. And so there's just maybe a different mapping protocol that's followed with one organization versus another. But first you define that experience, and then you and then you bring it to life. What so okay, so another question is what's your advice on creating an app or just simply a mobile friendly version of your portal? Any market research search on benefits of an app? Let me give a couple thoughts and then I'll let Mandy jump in too. Um, it's an important question and one that people do wrestle with. The First of all, everything that we do is responsive. We've made a pretty conscious decision to go the what is defined in the industry as responsive path. Um, it's not to say that creating an app isn't something that's totally fine to do, but that's a whole project in itself. That's a whole endeavor that needs life and upgrades and an ongoing set of improvements, and and yet the technology is such that if you really think about the online experience and or the mobile experience together, and you think about what people would expect and what they're going to be sometimes on their mobile device, sometimes on their desktop device, sometimes on a laptop, sometimes on their tablet. Um, with responsive technology, all of that can be incorporated into your portal design, and so your customer is going to get all the benefits of what otherwise might be delivered in an app without the complexity of yet having a separate platform. So our sense is that a responsive means of implementing online support is provides you with more flexibility and eliminates the complication of a whole separate app. But anyway, that's not necessarily right or wrong, but we feel that that's the path that we recommend.
So I'm going to take another sort of perspective from this question. Me personally, I have no hard evidence to back this up, but me personally, I have gone sort of in both directions. So at one point, I went in the direction of getting every single possible app that involved my life. So I had an app for literally everything. And you get to a point where having too many apps is actually more difficult than actually just using the services that you need. And so I backed off. I started deleting everything. I also ran out of space multiple times. Keeping up with updates was, a pain in the butt from a consumer perspective, not just from the technology having to update it and keep it updated. As soon as an app was no longer, viable as a completely fresh experience, it was already old, and I lost interest immediately. So I completely backed off, and now I've minimized the whole experience of app versus mobile. I've minimized that to just like the core services that I use, like banking, weather, maps. Like those things are the apps worthy services. Everything else, I just go to a web browser and I type it in and go from there. So I mean that's not hard evidence, but it seems to be a common theme that at least I've heard a lot about from colleagues and friends. But I'm not a millennial. I'll just put that disclosure out there. So it might be a little bit different for the up and coming generations.
The other thing that I will add is that when we develop any sort of screen for any of the solutions that we provide with our portals, we've got really neat technology to thoroughly test the range of ways that people can look at these screens. So with this really interesting tool, we can take what is a desktop view and quickly mimic what a variety of tablet devices would look like, and a variety of phones and versions of various phone manufacturers. And so there just are amazing tools to allow this to not at all be left to chance, but to really think it through. And so we take it very seriously that the mobile experience must be second to none. And so the fact that we are currently on the responsive technology versus app recommendation, it has nothing to do with the experience that we're looking to deliver. And in fact, it has everything to do with that. And we really believe that ultimately the experience and the flexibility is best down that pathway. So at the moment, we have gone through all the questions. So we're really grateful for your attention, for your participation today, and if we could at all be helpful, don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you all very, very much. Have a nice weekend.